again to the presentation, and as I said,
welcome to GoToWebinar, Webinars Made Easy.
All practice overview. In terms of size, we are close to about 680 plus consultants with domain and subject matter expertise, and we have larger presence in US, and we've also started projects in Brazil, APAC, and India. And we have dedicated solution competencies across the SAP technologies. And we are also a member of a SAP partner. This is something that which we have targeted for the SAP support customers. This is going to be one of our key differentiator in the SAP area. In terms of services that you see, it ranges from the consulting services, including more on high-end consulting services, strategic counseling, and supporting customers for the mergers and acquisitions. And typically for the build services, we support for consolidation, rollouts, and upgrades. And lastly, not the least, the majority of our business comes from the managed services, which comprises of your support and maintenance, your global services, shared services support, and also includes the DISYS, RISE, and testing. So the very idea of having the managed services is to reduce the operating cost. And if you look at our practice strengths, we've got predominantly all the service areas in terms of the technology, be it ECC, CRM, SRM, SEM, APO, SCM, and then we have BI, BO, and MDM, XI, PI, and ABAP. So these are all typically the technologies which are predominantly available and used in many of the customer places. And we also do testing support for them. And in terms of managed services, it comprises of the help desk, including the system monitoring, fine-tuning activities. And for the technical developments, we have varieties of services. Maybe it's just not the the kind of usual development services we give to the customer. It also includes any type of service-based requests that which we service for our customers. And for support and maintenance, we do the level 1 to level 3, and we also do a technical and the functional support, which includes the enhancements and the bug fixes. So this is pretty much on the overall SAP practice services. And if you look at our representative clients, so we have been servicing ExxonMobil for almost 6-7 years in the areas of SAP, and we have recently included many logos like CHEP, and we have been supporting other customers like Anderson Gear and Chevron, Medium, or some of the cases where we have done really good job. I'm just moving on to the next slide, which is our practice strength. In terms of the methodologies and the framework, we have got robust framework that which will help us to deliver the SAP projects. Typically for any SAP implementation, we have two components. One is the functional configuration and the development piece of SAP. We have built in the framework and methodology which are aligned with SAP's ASAP methodology. That's something which is widely used in all the SAP implementation. So we have adopted the same methodology and came up with a tailored approach which will suit for our customer. So if you see this diagram, so the right-hand corner explains the methodology that which we follow for the functional configuration and as well as for the development methodology. And Run SAP is one important key differentiator for us. We've been partnered with SAP for the last 3-4 years, and this is going to be a very clear differentiator for us in the service of SAP support. We have got access to the SAP documentation, the tools, which will actually help us to perform the SAP operations better. So we are actually trying to leverage the adoption of Run SAP by using a tool called Solution Manager. That comprises the entire life cycle of SAP management. So that was one of the key initiatives we did in the last 2 years, and we are trying to see how best we can adopt this in any of our future projects. We would actually need the support from all of you people to see how effectively we can use and leverage our experience with SAP partnership. And in terms of the skill set distribution, we pretty much have close to about 50% of our consultants on functional side, and about close to about 35 on SAP ABAP. And BI has started increasing now ever since we have supported ExxonMobil major upgrade and implementation projects. And we have close to about 5% who are present in other NetWeaver components, including SAP PI, XI, and other areas of NetWeaver technology. And for the delivery, so we have presence across North America, and we have nearshore capability in Brazil, and we also support people in Europe region. And offshore, India is going to be predominantly the offshore center for all our development to leverage our cost advantage. I'm moving on to the next slide, which is in the global services delivery model. As you know, Amar Abbas heads the DISYS Global Services, and we have two teams working along with him to support all the practices in the delivery team based out of McLean, and we have people in Dallas, and we have people in Brazil, and of course we have people in India. I manage the SAP services practices, and we have Amar, who heads the cloud services, and we also have Fernando, who heads the application development services, and Linux takes care of the infrastructure support. And in terms of the support, what you can expect is we are primarily targeting all the managed services projects to come under the global services. So right from the requirement gathering until the delivery of the project, it will be owned primarily by us. So we manage the work and we manage the resources, and the entire project is being owned by us. I think that's going to be the key differentiator than your typical staffing model. So this is a model which has been in use for almost 1.5 years in DISYS, and we have a delivery team who supports for all the regions of the globe. We have Prabhu Shankar, who is from India, and Chance from Dallas, and Heidi from McLean, and Eduardo from Brazil, who are supporting the delivery team. And from the practice side, I help people for all the SAP projects, right from your project kickoff until the delivery. And if you see, this is a typical go-to structure which is ready to support for our clients, and we definitely take the advantage of having the both domestic and the international locations. I think this is going to be a very successful model if we really start implementing in many of the projects, which really requires the overall total ownership from our end. And this has typical SLA-based delivery. Then all the deliverables are being measured through the SLA metrics. Any questions, team, until now? Okay, let me move on to the next slide, which is the SAP service delivery model. This basically explains the kind of delivery model which is also associated with typically how we have the presence of our resources and as well as the ownership from both DISYS and the client side. Staffing model is typically giving a resource on augmentation mode, wherein the delivery risks are being owned by the client primarily. So we just provide the required resources, and then we don't own the outcomes. It is with the client who owns the primary delivery ownership. And the capacity-based model is something where we are trying to see, we give a flexibility to the client to have a core team built for supporting their primary need, and then for any kind of spike or any additional requirement, we can come up with a flexible team on a planned ramp-up mode, which will actually help them to utilize the resources effectively. So this way, what we are trying to do is we are trying to give the client the flexibility for having the resources managed in an efficient way. This is being predominantly used in many of the support projects where we have a core team to support the business as usual activities, and we will have a flexible team to support any future projects, small projects or enhancements that will come during the year. So I think this is one of the models which we can use for any of the support projects. And the last one which I was talking about is on the managed services model. This is primarily done for having a total ownership by the DISYS. I think the key success for this managed services model is how effectively we get the transition from the team and we manage the deliverables and meet the SLAs and targets. So this is where we are trying to move towards. Probably in the next 2-3 years, we are trying to have more projects in the managed services model, from the staff augmentation to this area. So this is the transition which we are seeing for the last few months. And the next slide talks about the pricing model, what we offer. Fixed bid, as you know, is definitely a kind of benefit for the customer, but we do have a lot of internal challenges to make sure we have the control over overall the schedule and the budget. So this is something that which we can look at if the scope is very clear and we know all the kind of requirements very clearly. So this is not recommended for projects like implementation. We generally go in for fixed bid for the cases where we know the scope very well and the site is being determined in a scientific manner. So a fixed bid is going to be one of the key challenges for us. In case if the project size is more and the services are more on the consulting engagements, we don't recommend fixed bid. For support, upgrade, and testing, we can go for the fixed bid model. And time and material, as you guys know, it's just a SAP out mode, so where we just give the rate card and then it works. And hybrid model is something that which we use for the case where we go in for a piece of work where we know the scoping very clearly, but then for wherever we have unknown, we take that piece on a T&M model. This typically works out for any kind of consolidation or upgradation work, which comes in between a support project. So depending on the need, we might propose this model. Fixed capacity is almost similar to the T&M, but then we do have a cap which says so many hours in a year. So I think that is something that which we do for support projects and as well as for some of the small development activities. And lastly, the outcome-based is a model which is going to be a very matured model, wherein we know the system, we know the client very well, and we have established a long-term relationship with them, and we can measure and come up with a kind of pricing to this. Hello?
We can still hear you, Shanti.
Hello, Gordon, you there?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So outcome-based model is something that is being used in a very matured project and as well as where we have a good relationship with the client. So primarily we would go for these kind of outcome-based model if we have a good relationship and our association with them is for a very long time, and we know the project and the requirement very well. And this is just a diagram which shows the mapping, the pricing options at which we can map for the services. If you look at the strategic counseling, which is high-end consulting requirement, where we bring in people from the market who has experience in assessment of any IT roadmap and suggesting them a roadmap for ERP, be it SAP or Oracle. So strategic counseling is something which is very high-end, and our presence is very much less in this area. But however, we have the requirement of which we have seen in the last few years. We recommend always on-site for these and the pricing options to be time and material, considering the kind of the complexity that which is involved, and it's basically the applicability. I think being at on-site always helps us to interact with the business users and then close down all those open issues. So for those services, we always recommend T&M at on-site. And SAP support and maintenance is an area which we can go for fixed bid, and also ticket-based pricing, which are the recent ones. I've seen this for the last 6-7 years, customer asking for ticket-based. We just price it's basically the volume of tickets, the patterns, and the kind of technology that which are involved. They come up with a matrix and then tell them that, hey, come on, this is what is your requirement, and these type of tickets will take this much of price. That also calls for some sort of maturity in the application and as well as with the project. And fixed bid is a pretty straightforward thing. We price based on the ticket volume, and we take the ticket history, the trend, and then we come up with the support pricing for that. And for the implementation and rollouts, we always recommend that to be T&M. In a very rare case, if it's pretty much a straightforward but not as complex, global in nature, we go for fixed bid. Otherwise, we go for the T&M model. We can also use the offshore very effectively for the development activities. And the next service, which is on the SAP upgrade, where we can go with T&M and fixed bid. The same is the case with SAP testing and the development. SAP development, which is predominantly on ABAP, and we also have WebIntro. We have other technologies like enterprise portals. So we can also give an object-based pricing. Depending on the complexity of the object, the pricing can be given. So these are all the kind of pricing models what we can offer for our current SAP services. And if you look at our overall services, we are predominantly servicing many clients on the SAP support area. Almost close to about 70% or 80% of our current deals are on SAP augmentation mode, and we are slowly moving on to projects on managed services model. And we have seen a lot of projects in SAP support services. I just wanted to give a brief on what areas in SAP support services we can give. Typically, it falls under 4 buckets. One on DISYS. This is basically the administration role that which is required for maintaining the SAP application server. We do typical system monitoring, database management, and we have requirements for user administration and background job management. This is typically the routine maintenance activity which is being carried out by the DISYS consultants. And we also support SAP ABAP RISE development, RISE which stands for reports, interfaces, conversions, enhancements, forms. So this piece of work is pretty much done at both onsite and offshore, and predominantly we can leverage the presence of offshore for the cost arbitrage. And for SAP BI, we have done some of the support projects, including Luxottica last year, where we have supported for some of their enhancements and fine-tuning activities. And for functional, which encompasses all your modules like your financial accounting, material management, and sales and distribution, you have prediction planning. So all kind of functional support we do, which starts from your issue tracking until your enhancement and bug fixing. So this is pretty much straightforward functional support which is required in any SAP application. And some of the benefits that which I would see in the support services is primarily on the offshore component, because that's going to be one of the key factor determining your cost. So we can look at the offshore resource, which will be cost effective, and the service is going to be the same, and we can also take the advantage of the global coverage, which is 24/7. And if you look at the strength in terms of services, we pretty much cover all the areas of SAP, starting from your authorization audits until your typical functional support, even the archival that which they do once in 2-3 years. We also do those support services. And delivery and pricing, as I have said, we are offering all the pricing models and as well as the delivery models. And predominantly, the client would get the benefit on the on-site offshore model. As I was saying, it is definitely going to be cost arbitrage for them. And in terms of the skill level, we have close to about 49% of our SAP consultants working in different projects have SAP support experiences. And typically 10% are architect level guys, program manager who are managing the project, and 70% are SME category who have got good, rich experience in SAP area. And 20% of them are juniors with 2 to 3 years of experience. And this slide talks about how do we take over the current SAP services, be it from their internal team, internal IT SAP team, or any external service provider. We have this methodology which follows a planned transition starting from your planning until your steady state model. So we do the planning initially, defining the roles and responsibilities and getting to know the client system, their tools and technologies, and then setting up the offshore connectivity. All those things are done primarily in the planning, and then we move on to the acquisition stage where we understand their application and systems, and to an extent even the business processes, and we try to connect with all the key end users of SAP to get more on the kind of issues and challenges what we have in the current SAP application system. So once the knowledge acquisition is done, we do a kind of guided support where our team will be actually doing the support of the application of the back end, and we will still have the client to do the front ending. But once this is done, we do a reverse KP and then make sure our transition is complete, and then we completely take over the support from our end. So it can be both on-site and offshore, or we also have a fully offshore model once the system is stabilized, and we are pretty much fine in terms of the SLA adherence. This is typically how we do the SAP support transitions from planning until the steady state service. And the next slide talks about the Run SAP methodology. So this is one of the key advantage for us to make use of the solution manager effectively in the entire SAP life cycle. After the implementation, there are a lot of requirements in a support project. So be it your landscape transformation or your template management, SAP has come up with a solution called Solution Manager, which helps the support team to take care of the entire operations, be it from change control or your incident management. The Solution Manager tool allows the team to effectively perform the life cycle of the SAP operations. So it actually gives us the benefit of the best practices which are being used across the project. So with our partnership, we get access to the best practices, the contents and services that which SAP can offer to us to ensure we have the complete end-to-end solution operations. This is being targeted for support projects, but for implementation, we recommend using the accelerated SAP methodology, which is totally for SAP implementation projects. And the next slide talks about the support coverage. We have the capability for supporting Turbo Bar 7. It's basically the follow the sun approach, where we have presence across US, Brazil, Europe, and India, and in Thailand, which is an APAC region. So we try to have this model established for many of our projects. But currently, we have projects which are supporting US primarily from Chennai alone, which is in India, and we don't even have the on-site presence. That's basically the scope and the coverage of the applications what has been scoped in. So we take the benefit of the nearshore facility, which is Brazil, and as well as APAC for some regions. We also operate India in all the 3 shifts, which will cover the entire coverage, but it depends on the kind of project and the support coverage requirement. We try to have either the day shift or only the night or the swing shift. So this diagram talks about how we have resources being deployed across the globe and their shift timing. And I just want to give some of the case studies. This is one of the cases where we are executing projects on the shared services model. This one is for Landison Gear. We are currently supporting their SAP prediction application, which comprises FICO, SD, MM, and we have QM, and we have on technical areas we have DISYS, ABAP, and PI. This project we took over last year from their existing vendor, and it's currently running smooth, and we are adhering to the SLAs completely. And we support the functional area during the EST hours, and for SAP basis we support on on-call basis during the weekends. It's basically 24/7 only for the basis area. Some of the advantage what we get is it's a T&M and on a shared services model, and it's a flexible model which the client has taken the advantage of having the offshore as a major component. And so far there is no disruption of the business, and the operations are perfectly going on, and we are meeting the SLAs as per the client requirements. And these are all some of the representative case studies which I want to bring to your notice, which starts from the type of industry what we support. So we have presence in retail, we have supporting oil and gas, and manufacturing, consumer goods, and as well as for the public services company. ExxonMobil is one of our major SAP clients. We've been servicing them for the last 5-6 years in all the areas of SAP. So we have supported them for their SAP BI upgrade projects, and we have close to about 40 to 50 SAP BI consultants who are currently supporting their SAP BI engagement, which is larger in scope and size and larger in the global presence as well. So we have consultants across the globe, which includes US and Europe and as well as APAC. So we've also recently started off some engagements for India as well. So ExxonMobil is definitely going to be one of our key customers for SAP. And if you look at other clients, and we have also supported Rexam, and we have done a testing project for PepsiCo. So that was sometime during 2002 or 3, and we also did supported Amtrak for one of their implementations. So that was a very sizable project which was executed very successfully. And I have got the case studies which are embedded in the presentation itself. They will give you an idea of what is the kind of scope and what was the size that which was implemented. So maybe you can have a look at it when this is being put on our internet server. Basically talks about the project scope and the duration and how many people we have onboarded during that time. So I would just request the individuals to go over this document whenever they get time to. So this talks about 7 case studies, some of the key case studies at which we have done SAP services to our clients. And lastly, not the least, these are some of our client accolades, and we have got very good feedback from ExxonMobil on our work, and some of the customers are really very impressed the way in which we have done our services. And lastly, I just wanted to touch upon on our tool, which is called REV. This is primarily being targeted for SAP BI support projects. So this is the outcome of our DISYS Labs team. Based on our experience in managing SAP BI support projects, we wanted to have some homegrown tool which can be used for SAP BI. So if you look at REV, this is basically a tool that which will help us to have the project team, the support project team, to do the transition in a very efficient way. So this is basically an accelerated tool which helps the BI consultants to organize the technical objects in the system, understand the system better, and it also helps to get the cleanup activity in a very efficient way. In a nutshell, it actually helps to take the decision faster, to understand the system better, and also it makes the documentation process easy, and the maintenance of the SAP BI system is pretty much simple when we have this tool being deployed at our client place. The scope, if you see, the primary scope for this tool is to do an accelerated analysis of the objects which are developed in SAP BI, and also it will help us, even before we kick off the project, it will help us to understand the complexity of the SAP BI implementation. And one of the key items in this particular tool is it does the aging of SAP BI objects. A system which has been implemented for 6-7 years, and wherein we have a lot of redundant objects created in the system, you always carry out a kind of upgrade every year or so to meet up the business requirement. In those situations, we always carry the redundant objects in the system. So this tool will help the customer to do an aging analysis and then come up with an approach to delete the obsolete objects. So that is going to be one of the key advantages of using this tool. Okay, I think this is something which I spoke about, which is the key features are your accelerated technical analysis. Yeah, it's easy for the documentation, and also it helps the BI consultants to effectively maintain the system. And the last slide talks about the summary, the options on which they have in the REV tool. There's more on the technical side, which will tell you what the tool can offer. It comes as a kind of option which can be run through running our tool. This is basically developed in SAP ABAP, which can be deployed in SAP BI service. And the last slide on REV is to talk about what's the main point at which we have addressed in this tool. It does help the team to do the knowledge transition effectively before we take over any of the SAP BI support projects, and make sure the team has an efficient way of doing the system maintenance in a very methodical way. So that's going to be the key factor for using this tool. So let me tell you very clearly, this has been targeted for SAP BI consultants who are supporting the support project. It is not being targeted for any of the SAP implementation projects. So this particular tool has been targeted to address the pain points for maintaining any SAP BI application. I think I'm done pretty much with the capability presentation, so I would be happy to take any questions.
All right, thanks very much,
Hello?
Shanti. Again, if you have any questions, please type them into the questions box. So our first question, Shanti, for you. You may have already mentioned this, but can you please tell us more in detail about our SAP certification?
Yeah, sure. Our SAP certification is primarily on, it's called Run SAP certification. This is being actually targeted for maintaining the support projects. Our relationship with SAP is not the global partner status. It is for the support environment, which is called Run SAP. And now currently our recent program is called New Run SAP Implementation Partner, which is being targeted for adoption of Solution Manager. SAP is coming up with a lot of webinars and EGA sessions to make sure the customer or our team can directly interact with SAP experts for the deployment of SAP Solution Manager. This is not only for promoting or adopting the Solution Manager, but to take the advantage of their SAP methodology, which is going to get implemented through Solman. So our partnership is just with, it's not a global one, it's the one that which we have only in the US. As we grow, we will target for getting the certification which is going to be global. So as of now, it's only valid in the United States of America.
All right, thanks, Shanti. Similar question. Can you please tell us the benefits of our SAP partnership and how this differentiates ourselves in the marketplace? Yes.
One of the key differentiators is definitely it's going to be a key selling factor for us, Garden. Any customer, for that matter, there are three criteria. The partnership is one of the things at which we definitely value our strength or our capability in SAP. Even for us to get the certification, we have to meet many of the criteria. So for us to get any certification, we have to have the right kind of people, the right kind of certification in our team. So it will definitely help us to do the services better and also to get us. I think the market will definitely see us as a valued partner that we have these certifications. The only difference is this is not being targeted for any of the implementation projects. So our initial idea was to target more of SAP support customers. I think that's when we have started going for this new SAP partnership. It basically helps us to have access to the SAP experts directly. So we have one option in this partnership called EGI, that's called Expert Guided Implementation, which will help the customer to implement any of the new modules which are being implemented in Solman. So we can help the customer to get in touch with SAP experts directly. I can give you a classical example of the test management. So one of our customers wanted to implement test management in Solman. They did have their own team, but they did not have the right strategy or the access to SAP experts. Through our partnership, which is our SAP partnership, we have got almost 6 to 7 EGI sessions at which we can offer to our customers, where we can arrange for the webinars and they can do the implementation on the job with access to the SAP experts. So we call these sessions called EGI, Expert Guided Implementation. And we also support customers to get into a lot of webinars which are going to be of help for their future projects.
All right, thank you, Shanti. And next question, is REV a tool we can sell or just use to enhance our support projects alone?
Right now, we have targeted for using this for our own internal projects. We have not packaged it for selling, but then, however, it is available for customers, the current customers. I would be happy to deploy this free of cost in any of our SAP BI projects currently. So we have not packaged it for selling now, but then we would want to use this for any of our existing projects.
All right, thanks, Shanti. Are there any more last-minute questions before we end the webinar? All right, well, I'm not seeing any more questions, but thanks very much, Shanti, for taking time to speak to us about the SAP practice. And as a reminder, I will send a follow-up email with today's slide deck and the webinar recording, and that will also be available on the DISYS Internet page. All right, thanks very much, Shanti.
Thank you,
everybody.
Thanks. Bye-bye.